Middle East. We urge all parties to exercise the utmost restraint and urgently return to diplomacy. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of the Republic of Korea for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Somalia.
Thank you, Madam President. At the outset, allow me to express my gratitude for swiftly convening this important meeting today. I also would like to thank USG DiCarlo and Director Gross for their comprehensive briefing on the grave developments unfolding in the Middle East. Madam President, Somalia is gravely concerned by the escalating confrontation between the Islamic Republic of Iran and Israel, especially in the light of recent reports regarding Israeli airstrikes on Iran and Iran's subsequent actions. These developments represent a dangerous turning point with serious implications not only for the two countries involved, but for the entire region and the world. We are gravely concerned by the airstrikes against Iran and call for full respect of its sovereignty, territorial integrity in accordance with the UN Charter and international law. The use of force against a sovereign nation, regardless of the justification, risks undermining the foundational principles of international law and further destabilizing global peace and security. While we recognize the right to self-defense enshrined in Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, we call for restraint and de-escalation of the situation. The spillover effects are no longer hypothetical, and their consequences are already painfully clear, threatening to deepen existing crises and endanger countless lives in the Middle East. Madam President, at this critical juncture, my delegation calls for diplomacy, restraint, and meaningful dialogue to resolve the conflict. We urge both parties to refrain from further escalation and to prioritize peaceful engagement, wisdom, and stewardship. The international community must work collectively to de-escalate tensions and facilitate conditions for a durable peace. The Security Council has a clear mandate to uphold international peace and security. We call on all members to act with unity and resolve to support an immediate cessation of hostilities and return to dialogue and diplomacy. Lasting peace in the Middle East can only be achieved through addressing the root causes of instability in the region and the respect for international law. In conclusion, Madam President, Somalia reaffirmed its solidarity with all those affected by this conflict and stands with the global community in urging a return to diplomacy and full adherence to international law and its covenant, including the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Somalia for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Panama.
Thank you, Madam President. We would like to express our thanks to Undersecretary General Rosemary DiCarlo and to Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Mr. Rafael Grossi, for their presentations, and we welcome the delegations of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Israel, Iraq, and Kuwait. We're meeting here today at a moment of extreme gravity for international peace and security. The Colombian writer Gabriel Garcia Marquez had as the title of one of his works a classical expression, wonderful expression, when he qualified a predictable situation as the chronicle of a death pre-announced, and that could be applied to this situation. The events that occurred last night really are hardly surprising, but they do represent a new and troubling link in a chain of tension that threatens regional and global stability. It is especially alarming that these events are taking place in a region marked by deep sensitivities with regard to security and proliferation. The proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, particularly nuclear weapons, represents an existential threat that this Council cannot ignore. The Republic of Panama, as a country firmly committed to international law and to global stability, has consistently called for the strengthening of the global non-proliferation regime, and we underscore the irreplaceable role that is played by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, in this collective effort. And we also reaffirm that the full respect for and the integrity and safety of IAEA personnel is an obligation under international law and an indispensable requirement to preserve the credibility of the multilateral verification system. Our position is based on the fundamental principles of our foreign policy: respect for and strengthening of the multilateral system, the non-proliferation regime, and the promotion of diplomatic dialogue as an essential tool to ease tensions and reduce strategic risks. We take note of the report of the IAEA Director General, reference number GOV/2025/24, recently circulated to the members of this Council, where it's indicated that the agency's verification and monitoring related to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, have been severely affected by Iran's cessation of its compliance with commitments, nuclear commitments. Furthermore, we are closely following the discussions of the IAEA Board of Governors, in which a resolution was adopted yesterday, the 12th of June, in Vienna, a resolution stating that the Islamic Republic of Iran is in breach of its obligations under its safeguards agreement with the agency. Unfortunately, the information available to now with regard to the facts and motivations does not still allow us to know the practical scope of this non-compliance and the derived effects from this, and also does not allow us to distill conclusions from this information. Therefore, for the moment, in any event, neither the parties nor the United Nations should allow these events to drag the region into a broader conflict which would contravene the principles of the United Nations Charter and international law. We must act with the utmost urgency and responsibility to prevent this. Panama urgently calls for maximum restraint from all states, respect for international law and for the principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter, and for refraining from any action that could escalate tensions. We urgently appeal for the revitalization of diplomatic channels as a path to reduce tensions and mitigate risks that could have irreparable consequences for international security. We also would recall that international law requires the protection of civilian infrastructure, with special emphasis on nuclear facilities intended for peaceful purposes. Civilian assets that must be protected from attacks and reprisals due to their very nature and because of the potential risks that they pose to the environment and civilian populations. There is no military shortcut to stability. Only genuine, inclusive and sustained dialogue can offer a lasting way out of the crises that bring us here today. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Panama for his statement, and I now give